Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and what's next. It's a show that asks questions and peels back the layers of our average everyday experience and goes beyond scratching the surface. We interview people doing incredible things who are making a difference around the globe. Join me as we listen in and get one step closer to understanding that big ideas shared create collaboration. Collaboration can inspire community, and communities create social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview is with Wee-Ding Ho, and we had a great time talking about his new film, Terrorizers. It was at the Toronto International Film Festival. Look for it everywhere, hopefully coming soon to a digital theater near you during these kind of challenging times we live in. Finding film in some respects has become easier. And on some levels, I suppose with independent film, it's become a little more of a challenge. But do keep your eye out for the film and look into Wee-Ding Ho's other work as well. This is a movie about how possibly life has more interesting stories to tell than movies do, if that makes any sense at all. Wee-Ding and I had a great time talking about audacity in filmmaking and audacity in storytelling. And is that a good thing? We talked about the difference between, art house and commercial and independent film, sort of that cut and paste style of filmmaking. We talked about linear versus nonlinear and what it means to challenge the status quo. And why is it that when it comes to news, we often don't dig deeper? So, how do we scratch a little deeper and go beyond, that surface text, the headline, as it were? This sense of fragmentation and different perspectives, and how we're all products of our environment, choice and responsibility. I mean, modern existentialism makes its way into this interview, I'll tell you that for sure. And it's really we covered a lot of ground, and one of the things that I loved about this film is that it really ultimately is about community and those people that we surround ourselves with. And again, it's a thread for me this year. I think, frankly, it's a thread in most film that I watch. But this idea that we're all looking to be loved, we're all looking for our way back home. And so listen in, buckle up. Can't wait for you to hear the interview. Can't wait for you to see the film and find out why is it that Wee-Ding thinks that a good comedy is actually pretty dark. So hopefully that's grabbed your attention and you're anxiously awaiting and maybe even already fast forwarding through the introduction to get to the interview. And don't forget davidpecklive.com for more information about my writing and my public speaking. You can find all of my podcasts there as well. Face2facelive.ca. It drives to the same website now. You can purchase a copy of my award-winning book, Real Change is Incremental. I would love that. Sign up for our newsletter. It's important to us. We only send out about 4 of those a year, but more importantly, wherever you listen to podcasts, sign up. Spotify, iTunes. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and give us a like, thumbs up on YouTube. But if you can, leave us a review. We would so appreciate it. It's super important to us here at Face to Face and helps us to move this forward. And then share it with family and friends. Socially mediate us in whatever way that you can. That's all at davidpecklive.com or face2facelive.ca. Either will get you there and close to 600 interviews. So check it out. But in the meantime, though, don't touch the dial because we've got a wonderful, fun, and interesting interview with Wee-Ding Ho talking about his new film, Terrorizers. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We are joined by a very special guest with us here today from another part of the world, and maybe he's going to talk about that. But we've got Wee-Ding Ho here to talk about his new film, Terrorizers, which was just playing at the Toronto International Film Festival. Wee-Ding, thank you for joining us today on Face to Face.
Thank you for inviting me, David.
So you're back home. You're back home. Talk to me a little bit about this crazy COVID experience, film festival-like experience, and I don't know. Talk a little bit about what that's like as an artist and a creator.
Wow, this is a big question. I'm talking from Taipei, Taiwan. This is where I'm based as a filmmaker. I've been here for 20 years now. My wife and daughter are all Taiwanese, and I was born in Malaysia, and I left Malaysia when I was 18. So my first stop was in actually Toronto. So Toronto Film Festival was my big international film festival when I was very young. So then I went to Los Angeles and I graduated from New York Tisch, and then I relocated to Taipei, started my career, and this is the whole thing about who I am. And I'm also kind of based in Bangkok right now. So before COVID, everyone think you can travel easily. You just hop on the plane and just go. You can do things in two places. You get a bit greedy about this, and the COVID comes and everything just fall apart. So I actually went through 2 or 3 quarantines this year, so it's pretty tough. Even
A
though,
lot of time on your own.
yeah, a lot of time. It's a good thing is you can always, because back then I always, tell my wife I need some place, I need an office, I need a studio, I got to be alone. I got to, write my script quietly. I
Sure.
cannot be in my apartment. And then suddenly you have like a couple of quarantines, 14
Sure.
days each. In fact, I did actually wrote 1 or 2 scripts
Wow.
that I might direct in the future.
So
Something is good.
quarantine actually blended well with your creative side.
For filmmaker, yeah. I mean, because you tend to get really busy. As a filmmaker,
Yes.
you do prep, you shoot, you edit.
Sure. Sure.
After you edit, you have to go to promotion, distribution, all that kind of thing. And then by the time you finish everything, your energy is drained out.
I,
And then you're going to have to find some inspiration. It's going to take forever.
I,
So this is kind of force you
Wei
to,
Ding, I've been interviewing filmmakers for a long time from
yeah.
various festivals, and I got to tell you, I got so much respect and admiration for the work that you all do, the nuance and the subtleties and all the details.
Yeah.
How you bring all of this together and create something like Terrorizers. And by the way, congratulations! I love the
Thank
film.
you.
It's beautiful, it's poetic, it's subtle, it's masterfully crafted. It really is. I've heard you referred to as an audacious filmmaker before. Can you unpack that a little bit in your own mind? Would you call yourself audacious?
I don't know. I mean, when you was younger, you look at all the good films made in 70s, new wave, and those people were audacious. So when I was young, I thought being audacious was a good thing.
Right.
But now it's like, especially the world now, they tend to be very conservative. I think even you don't see independent films anymore. You don't see artsy art film anymore. All the art film is well packaged, fully funded, talent, star, enough to bring people on the red carpet. You have all the things to make it as an art film, polished, beautiful art film. So I mean, like when you go to see art film in Cannes Film Festival, they always have a certain kind of package with them: sales agent, distributor, all that kind of machine. So when you have so many people involved, it's harder to be audacious because there are people, there's a
So
lot of people interested.
are you saying that the industry is sort of set up to push back against that type of filmmaking a little bit, just because it's, I don't know, maybe generic or it's cookie? I mean, even recently I've heard some more criticism around Marvel films, right? Oh, CGI.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese,
Oh yeah.
CGI is ruining the world, right? It's a
Yeah.
different kind of storytelling. It's not cinema,
And
I believe.
yeah, and the cut and paste, so
Cut and paste.
that's what people are saying. But look, it could be me, it could be I'm older, it could be because I mean, I try to be different. Like every time when I make a film, um I wouldn't call myself audacious. Maybe people will call me audacious, but the thing is, I'm just trying to make a film that make people to wake up, make people to think about it, ask questions instead of give them a comfortable answer. um I got a lot of hit from this film also, playing with the structure.
Yes.
People going in thinking they're going to watch I mean, people are conditioned to watch a linear film now.
Right,
You
of
know,
course.
so every time you play out of order, people get anxious. People are like, "Why do you play like this?" I mean, you know, I mean, a lot of people. I think when we were doing editing, a lot of seasoned the producer friends, they look at me. They're like, "Why don't you just do linear? What do you have to do out of linear?" I'm like, well, life is short. I mean, can I do something to challenge audience? You know, I know I'm running a risk of alienating some audience. You know, I mean, look, like my film is kind of divided. So you love it, but some people just basically just like, oh, this is not good. So this is the heat I have to take. But when you say you love my film, I'm happy because you read into it. You know, why am I doing this? There's a reason for it. You know, I mean, I can only make friends with people who know my film. You know, I cannot make everyone happy. So, you know,
that's great.
yeah.
No, that's really interesting. There's so many things to ask you about, and obviously we need to talk about Terrorizers as well. And I'd love to hear about, you know, what's next for you film festival wise, but linear versus non-linear, you know, and I've studied a lot of philosophy over the years, and I would say I bend more towards non-linear, but I sometimes wonder if the human mind, the construct, you know, is more linear, or have we just been trained, you know, to read stories that way, to listen to stories that way, to watch television that way. And I'd love to hear a little bit more from you about that, because that's part of what I loved about your film. I had to work a little hard to step in, if you know what I mean. Like,
right.
and isn't that what life is really all about? And that's the thing, you know, I would almost, there's a postmodern edge or something to the structure, which I guess lends itself to nonlinear. But can you unpack that a little bit for us, for my listeners? Why do you bend towards that, Weeding?
When you look at the headline, it's already happened.
Right.
Something bad happened, right? That's the climax. And then you see the headline. If this is a sensational news, it's going to go on for 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
The second day, maybe some the reporter, police find out some more clue, and then you start to realize that, oh, okay, there's something going on rather than just on the surface, you know. And then you see, as the day progress, you dig deeper and deeper. You actually go back past more, right? When you read the news, it's very fragmented. I mean, it's not linear. I mean, there's no one. You know, like when you read the news, you talk about something happens. No one's gonna tell you, oh, you know what? The killer was born in when. This is how he got started. Da da da. This is. I mean, it's like you just jump right in. So you got the gist, and then you start trying to figure out. That's the news. And then when I was younger, I read a lot of fiction from South America, from Europe. I mean, you know, even there's some, even Paul Auster, one of my favorite writer, based in Brooklyn, New York. I mean, sometimes when they write story, they write in the way they're using different perspective. Every chapter is different. You know, time is jump around a little bit. Even I think children books had that kind of setting. You know, so it's a why people are so mad about a film that is out of linear. I mean, you must have read some books before. You love reading news. You know, it's like so I guess I thought people are better prepare for that. And in fact, I did my last film, like City of Last Things. I did a reversal chronology, and I had fun with that. You know, people are trying to figure out as I go back. in time.
Which, by the way, for the listeners you that may not know, you won the 2018 Platform Prize, I believe, for that film at TIFF.
Yes, for that, yes. And I realized that I really want to play with the audience expectations, and then it's very challenging. It's very risky, but you get the best out of it. Yeah.
It's really interesting to me that I sometimes have wondered, and I don't know that this is all that fanciful is the word that comes to mind, observation. But if we as you as storytellers had presented stories to us in a different way, would we be as a human race in a different place? In other words, if we didn't have these beginning, middle, end kind of Joseph Campbell like stories in front of us all the time that we consume, would we be better prepared for loneliness and the voyeurism that we come across in our daily life, the violence, etc. Right? Like I wonder if we could flip that on its head, where might we be?
Right. I mean, the good thing about story with beginning, middle, end, it's so that you can escape into it.
Right.
You cannot be too close to life, because otherwise, why read life when you experience life?
Right.
But the thing is, at some point when you want to talk about life in filmmaking, sometimes you just have to really go for the directions, so that, I mean, like, even film is hardly live, because you edit, you do setup, everything. You just have to imitate life, and with Marvel, you can say, look, this is fantasy, this is different world. I'm going to create a world for you to jump in, which is fine. Like sometimes I watch Marvel films too when I want to escape from my
sure
hard life. But when it's time, but you cannot escape forever. Sometimes you just have to look at yourself, look at your life critically, and then film like this. Hopefully people will come and watch, and then kind of get a wake up call and think about it. Because I've heard a couple of people who have told me they still think about this film after 2 days. After 1 or 2 days. I mean, this is good. I mean, because I must have show you something that hit you, so that you can keep thinking.
It stays with you, and I think I actually think that most people who would see a film like yours, it will stay with them whether they know it or not. If that makes any sense, they can't. In a sense, they can't go back. They may choose to not go back, but on some sort of I don't know, emotional, spiritual, physiological level, they can't. Right? They've now experienced this story through kind of your eyes, if that makes sense. It's really interesting. The French existentialists would say we escape with Marvel and these types of movies and structured narrative because we don't want to be free. Right? Right. And I got that sense from Terrorizers. Without giving away too much of the film, Terrorizers, are we kind of, would you sort of put all of us in that category? Does that make sense? We're all sort of terrorizing in our own way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And maybe you can tell us a little bit about the film as well.
Right. There's a plural. There's more than one terrorizers, because it's terrorizers. And then it's not just about that guy who did some public socializing killing thing. It's about, I mean, he's a product of society, of environment. It could have been, well, I mean, it's easy to say, oh, video game make you this. No. It's internet make you this, or it's loneliness make you this.
Right.
It's the abandoned parents make you this. It's the one kid. It's you don't have sibling now. You have like all the family have one child. It could be the spoiled mother, the father. It could be like like the school, could be loneliness, to be friends, could be the Asian sex education. That's a lot of things to, I mean, it could be anything. And also the people who are around you who somehow encourage you, somehow provoke you, you know, somehow say something that might, I mean, it's like people you bum on the street, they might have said something that you remember, like you talk about like my film just now, people watch it, they there's something in their, in their mind. So
It's an experience.
yeah, so I cannot just blame him. I maybe I cannot just blame video game, because the game is gonna the game is gonna kill me. So it's like, it's, and then you cannot just blame internet. But the thing is, people are spend a lot of time in virtual world now. I mean, this TikTok is taking over YouTube now. Apparently, people spend 8 hours on TikTok. Last week, my iPhone told me you spend like 7 hours on the cell phone. I'm like, oh my god! It's like, why am I? Because I was in quarantine, of course. But the thing is, it's why am I spending 7 hours on the cell phone instead of looking out? Read a book, or maybe the world is not that interesting anymore. Maybe
Interesting.
we are
Wow.
not
Yeah.
living in the nature. We are living in the city with smog, with noise. I mean, how can I stay in the balcony with a cup of coffee when you keep building the houses next to me, and have to end up hiding inside the air conditioner room and looking at the computer, maybe watching Netflix? It's like that's a lot of things
Well,
going
it's
on.
interesting. You said
Yeah.
maybe the world is not all that interesting anymore. What a
Yeah.
great line. I mean, isn't that? I mean, now we're back to escape,
Yeah.
right? Now we're back to escape.
Yeah.
Question for you, and I'm sure you've reflected on this as a writer and a filmmaker, artist. How do we get there? I mean, in a sense, I mean, what I saw, your film is a deeply relational film. This, even though this is a film about barriers and walls that we build between us, and violence and anger and all these things, it's also deeply compassionate, I think. And I wonder, how, are all of these characters, you and Ming and so on, are they real, Monica? Are they just looking for love? I mean, that's kind of an oversimplification, I think, in a way, but looking to find their way back home.
Looking for love, or looking to, like looking to love, or looking to be loved.
Looking to be loved. Yeah, that's good.
It's one word. It's all loneliness. Why is loneliness? You have you're crowd. You're in a crowded city. You are in a crowded subway. Everyone look at a phone. You used to look at the strangers and try to judge him. You don't do that anymore. And the kid, it's not interested anymore, because you cannot have kids play in the playground, because the playground is dangerous for some parents. You don't talk to your neighbor, because the neighbor, it's a stranger. When we were younger, when we were kids, we can play, we go out and play, explore everything. Now you all have to lock in, and especially in Asia, in Taiwan, or in Malaysia, people, they bought a house, and then they have 5 windows, and then they have heavy curtain to close the window. Right. They have the iron thingy to, they're worried about robbery. I mean, why do you want 6 windows when you just have heavy curtain block, and then you turn on the light inside the house during the day, and you don't want to see the sunlight. You don't want to have the fresh air. You have air conditioner, you have light. I just like, it's just everything human are doing. It's like they're not very kind to themselves,
Yeah,
but
it's like we're cocooning in our own worlds. And I mean, it's a huge question, and lots of people are talking about it, but where is the connection? Where is the relationship? And again, why is it so difficult to break through those. Does it come back to our education system? Does it come back to our the way we're parented? The way we're raised? I mean, these are big questions, and I love that you ask them in a film like this. Was it Yu's character who says, everyone says they love me and then leave? And I felt her performance, by the way, the performances in the film are astounding. They really are amazing. Right. And I mean, you've been able to get these actors to communicate so much through facial expressions. Right. And for me, that's a reminder that we just need to shut up and pay more attention. Right?
Yeah. Just be quiet and just be calm. It's just so many talking, so many noise and so many sound, and people just overlook the tiny little expression and small things.
We miss it. We miss the details.
Yeah, we miss the details. Yeah. Hey, like people are like, oh, there's no music. Oh, I cannot watch a film because there's no music. Right. It's like, this is what happened because now people use music to drive the audience to watch the film. All the YouTube clips, TikTok clips, whatever the clips they are. Have you seen a clip there without music? No.
It's pretty rare.
Music. Yeah. So it's like we are doing pretty bad things to ourselves. We get used to the noise now. We get used to the cocoon thing. We get used to the computer. We'll get used to it's like sometimes I'm very curious, why are people so obsessed with this small little screen instead of looking at the sky, looking at the wider space? They just keep looking at this window, and that's scary. Yeah. But people don't realize that. Yeah.
Do you when you were writing Terrorizers, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about where a story like this comes from for you. And I can't wait to ask you about the film canisters behind you too, but maybe we can
I just saw that. Yeah.
We're going to definitely have to chat about those. But did you see Terrorizers as you were writing the script? Did you feel that there was a prophetic edge to this? That along the lines of Orwell and Huxley and Baudrillard and others, and so many filmmakers, did that cross your mind?
No, I mean, I like sometimes when people watch my film and then they start telling me I look like this, like what did I do that? Is some kind of issue I'm trying to say. I never thought about that when I wrote the script. For me, it was just a story. Sometimes it looks like a story to me. It looks like a fun story. It looks like something will keep me for 2 years. I did thought about Edward Yang. Edward Yang is a Taiwanese filmmaker I really admire, because he's only the one filmmaker who deal with urban stories. And then I like his films, and Terrorizers he has a film in 1986 called Terrorizers also. And I like the sound of the word Terrorizers. I don't like terrorists, I like Terrorizers. And I thought I'd pay a little homage to him, because he's also the big he's very good at structure the big story, couple of storylines. So I did get some inspiration from him when I was writing, but I never tried to copy him or trying to do a remake of the 1986 Terrorizers. And I wasn't thinking much, because some people ask me, why did your story switch for romance story, starting to like a thriller story?
Yeah. For
me, life has a lot of genres. In one day, something could be happy, something could be sad. It's a lot of movies in your life in one day. So why can I switch genre? I mean, this one of those things that I think audience very, very conservative, because they have to read the description of the movie they're going and watch and say, oh, this is comedy. Fine. You go in, you have to watch the comedy. You cannot go something else. Otherwise they go freak out. So they're in their comfort zone. So you cannot put them out. But I like to pull them out of comfort zone. I like to make them like, oh my God, what happened? why did he do that? So
yeah, the phrase I've used before is this idea of shocking people out of their complacency, pushing them outside. I love your idea. Maybe we should all try this for like a couple of weeks or a month. We should all watch movies that we know nothing about.
It's very hard now.
It's incredibly hard, right?
It's harder and harder now.
Yeah, with festivals and reviews and the way they're presented even on streaming platforms but I think I love that idea as an experiment to say,
I know.
Right? And because this is really in a way how our lives are lived. And again, I come back to your film, and I actually think it's a very prophetic and existential piece. I really do. The questions you raise, and I've always been for many years fascinated by how authors and artists, that intentionality that comes out in the work, right? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's a real.
I mean, it's like sometimes you don't intend to do that, but it's been in your
exactly.
So it's the same thing. I keep telling people I want to make different films. People look at me and no, you're making the same films. No, I say I'm I'm doing the black and white, the color, the action, the comedy. I'm doing different film. No. It's not, because you're the same person. You're doing the same thing. Because the intention is always the same. From the same person through their works. Yeah.
One of your characters, and I think it's is it Monica to you? She says, please don't judge me for you're judging me based on my past.
Right.
To me, that's a very there's a couple characters who kind of question Monica a little bit, and then there are others who don't. They question her lifestyle. They question what happened sort of a few years ago and how she was exploited. And there's so much in that phrase. I mean, we can talk about patriarchy, we can talk about violence, we can talk about sexual violence, we can talk about misogyny. I mean, there's a lot going on there. And I'm just as we talk about this idea of intention and writing, as an editor, it's masterfully edited, your film, by the way, in my opinion. How present were you with those ideas, those ethical ideas that you want? You mentioned abandonment and loneliness. I mean, your film takes on a lot of issues, and I love that about your work. I'd love to hear more about that from you as a storyteller. I know it's a crazy, ridiculously big question, but
no, I mean, the answer is very simple. It's just me. I write what I feel it's right. I write what I feel. I mean, I'm not trying to, this is not commission work. This is my work.
Sure.
So I'm writing, I think it's the right thing. I'm editing as I try to show the thing I want to show people. So it's very hard for me trying to think about, this shot, I want to talk about this. That shot, I want to talk about that. But because I guess even in life already, even when I'm not making films, I have already sympathized with people like that.
Right.
I have a way to look at those people, sympathize and know what they go through. And for me, these characters in my films, I think they are really brave. They are so brave.
They're very.
They don't know.
There's a transparency and an authenticity to the characters in your film, in Terrorizers, for sure. Like these are real people struggling with serious issues.
Yeah.
That frankly, that we all struggle with.
Yeah. It's me. I mean, there's a lot of me inside all these characters. I mean, I've been struggling with my life because I have my goals so clearly in front of me.
Sure.
I've been trying to, I mean, I have to be brave to make film like this. I have to be brave to be a filmmaker. I guess because of this bravery, obsession, the stubbornness.
Sure.
Stubbornness. I mean, the drive. So all my characters have some crazy drive. I mean, of course, I don't encourage people to go that way as that young kid, killing people, but that's a drive because he just want to get attention. He just want to be loved. or maybe he just want to make confession to some girl that he think it's appropriate confessions, but he didn't realize that it was wrong. I mean, he thought that he could just go in with the keys into someone's apartment. He thought it's fine, you
Right.
know.
He wasn't crossing the line.
Yeah, it's like people take your photo and put it on the internet without telling you. They think it was fine.
Right. The lines we crossed. You just reminded me of an old Joel Schumacher film called Flatliners. You remember Flatliners?
Right. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Yes.
And I think that the tagline in the film was "Some lines shouldn't be crossed." I'm pretty sure that was the tagline. And isn't that kind of what your film is a little bit about as well? Becoming a parent. Could you have written Terrorizers before you became a parent? Do you think differently as an artist now because of that? And I've got 2 kids, and so I'm kind of empathizing a little bit here, I think. But yeah, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
I mean, I sometimes I thought when I became parents, I will start making comedy and animations and children movies.
Sure.
No, I'm actually making film like this, and my daughter cannot watch. My wife was like, wow, every time you make film, you have to be this. But my wife also an artist. My wife is an artist. My wife is also the owner of my company, and she's also the producer. So, which is fine. She's actually support. I mean, like every time I have a script, I show it to her.
Right.
I mean, she support me all the way. But of course, sometimes she will question is that, do you have to be so harsh?
Right.
Do you have to be so, but I told her, I say, look, I think sometimes you have to just hit people. I mean, to make people kind of like you say, hit them out of the comfort zone. Yeah.
Out of their comfort zone. Yeah.
Make them realize something. Yeah.
Yeah, I realize something. And I think what I love about, and I'm so with you on the little things, and I really believe that stories like this, seeds are planted with audiences that I hope, will come back to haunt them in the best sense of the word, if that makes sense, down the road. Right. And maybe it's emotionally, and maybe it's spiritually, and maybe it's relationally, but I mean, these stories like this matter. I really, really believe that. So I guess the next question is, when are you going to make your first kids film?
Look, I'm not going to make kids movie because it's very hard to make.
When's a comedy coming?
No, in fact, my feature debut is called Pinoy Sunday. It's about 2 guys who carry a red couch on the road.
I haven't seen it. Can't wait to. I know that I can see the poster.
Comedy. Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Before the feature film, I made 2 short films, which is very dark, like Terrorizers. And when I make Pinoy Sunday, people were like, "What are you doing? I thought you were cool with those dark style. Why are you making a comedy?" Like the festival was so very disappointed. They're like, "Oh my god, you disappoint me because you're making this comedy of manner." And then after that, a lot of people approached me to make comedies. Seriously. I actually did some TV movies. I did some TV movies, movie for China. It's all fantasy comedies. And then the last film, I decided to just make an announcement and say, look, I'm not that funny. So I'm just going to go back to my dark side. From now on, I'm still stay with the dark side.
You're not.
I'm
I
not
love the statement.
I'm staying in the dark side. Yeah. So
yeah, no,
but
I love.
You realize,
I love that you said, I'm not that funny, and I'm going to go to my dark side. It's just, that's a great soundbite. I love it.
But that's another thing you should know. Comedy and dark movie are actually the same. A good comedy is actually pretty dark. It's just one line. It's a thin line. So if a filmmaker can make a good dark film and also a good comedy, that's pretty hard. So
pretty
that's the
hard
goal I'm aiming for. Yeah.
and super interesting. So you're trying to bring the dark and the comedic together. Sadly we're gonna have to wrap this up here in a minute. So are you on to a theatrical release in the near future, sometime in Asia, Malaysia, Taiwan? What's the plan for the film? Just to let our audiences know, my audience know what's next for you.
We are releasing the film in Taiwan in November.
Fantastic.
And we're trying to find some buyers for different territories, like the States, maybe some countries in Europe, or even like Japan or Hong Kong, so that people can play my film in the regular theaters. But unfortunately, sooner or later, it's going to go to streaming.
Right.
And you're going to have to watch my film in small screen.
On a
But
small
before
screen.
that, with the narrow windows we have for a couple of months, let's see if we can show the film on big theaters in big cities in the States, in Europe somewhere.
It's a great goal. Weeding, I was at a press conference at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was a star-studded cast, and Denis Villeneuve was there, and to talk a little bit about Dune and a few things. And he said to the audience and to the panel, the future of cinema is on the large screen. So I really hope he's right, and I hope we do see a resurgence of it post COVID. And yeah, your film needs to be seen on a big screen. I am with you 100%. Hey, and the final question: when are you getting a TikTok account?
I just got my IG account. I just couldn't. I'm just overwhelmed with that. I mean, it's going to be 5 years, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we should recommend you don't get one. That's
I know.
yeah. Although it might become subject matter for your next film. Who knows, right?
But the thing is, the film got promoted in Taiwan. Like, people promote films now through IG, Facebook, and TikTok.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's I have to like sometime go and find out what's going on, because people ask me to go. I'm like, okay, and then I might get my TikTok account sooner than you think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, I'm gonna have to sign up myself. I don't have one. Maybe we'll cross paths there. What a pleasure talking to you today, Weiding Ho, talking about his new film Terrorizers. Just so good to have you on Face to Face today. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, David.
So there you have it, a fun, fascinating interview with Weiding Ho talking about his compelling and compassionate new film Terrorizers. So much going on there, and so much fun for so many reasons, philosophical and existential, but also just this idea of good comedies being pretty dark is, I think, a really interesting insight coming out, not only out of the film but out of the conversation as well. Don't forget davidpecklive.com for more information about my writing and speaking. Check it out. You can buy a copy of my book, Real Change is Incremental, there. But more importantly, Face to Face Live exists there as well. Got a whole library of podcasts. Go back and have a look, have a listen, check it out. But more importantly, please do subscribe where you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like it as well. We'd appreciate that. And also, please do leave us a review where and when you can. It does make all the difference. And stay tuned. So much more coming up from Face to Face over the next little while. Interviews from the Toronto International Film Festival. We got some amazing stuff coming up before the end of the year for 2021. And we will see you very soon here on Face to Face.